Look,
Yay.
it's all about the socials. If we don't tweet first, how will anybody know we're live?
Well, I'm going to Slack now.
Oh, do the Slacky thing.
I did.
Yay, Slack. We're going to do this. Welcome to the Iron Sysadmin podcast, your source for IT news, commentary, and a healthy dose of paranoia. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 38 of Iron Sysadmin, where we don't have a main topic. So we're just going to talk about the news and BS for like however long it takes us to do this thing. That sound good?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yes.
Sounds wonderful.
I'm Nate, your host, as usual, and joining me from his pink missile silo is... That's you.
That's me, the guy who's been drinking already.
Joining me from his mauve missile silo.
Mauve? We're changing colors now?
Well, you keep telling me it's not pink, but it's obviously like a dark pink.
Dude, it's red. You've been here. It's red.
Totally, it's not red. It's not red on camera. It is not red on camera.
I blame the camera. I'm going to change it black so you can tell me that it's like purple.
It is black as your soul.
I don't have a soul. Anyway, howdy, gang.
It's going to be a good night. I have no beer, and Jason's been drinking, so...
I've been drinking for a while.
I have water tonight, because I need to drink something while recording.
Should probably be drinking water. Drinking water, yes.
I tell you what, you send me your beer, I'll send you the water, and we'll be even.
It doesn't fit in the camera. Sorry, I tried.
It doesn't fit in the camera.
Beer over IP. Boip.
Beer over IP. That's awesome. All right. So, I don't know. I had a busy weekend dealing with Jeep stuff, not IT stuff. And I came back to work today and realized that we had a show tonight. And I hadn't put really any thought at all into a main topic. So we're just going to do a bunch of news tonight, guys.
I never think about a main topic.
I know you don't, because whenever I say, hey, guys, I haven't thought up a main topic, can you give me one? I generally get crickets in return. Like in the mail. I've got a room full of crickets.
I don't see the problem. Crickets are wonderful.
Crickets are wonderful. Not the chocolate-covered kind either. I've never tried them. Have you?
Crickets. No.
You have a chocolate flying pig, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. No crickets, though.
With a very special meaning. I would bring it down off of the wall to show you the chocolate flying pig. However, it's currently still looking like a pig, and if I move it, it may turn to dust.
So I guess I'm going to have to find a cricket sound for the soundboard.
You could.
In the meantime, I can still do.
Wow. For $500, I could get a freestanding wine cooler and cigar humidor.
Who wants wine coolers anyway?
I don't. I just want a cigar humidor.
You didn't. Never mind. I don't mean a wine cooler. I mean a wine cooler.
Yeah, I don't want a wine cooler. A beer.
You don't. Okay, then. Let's move on.
Those days.
So we have news tonight. Have you heard of this little operating system called Windows?
No. Is that new?
No, it's not new at all.
No. Must not have much market share.
Must not. So Microsoft recently has announced, let's see, they said it was at their Build Developer Conference. Microsoft today announced that just under 700 million devices now run Windows 10. Just under. Apparently they said it was over 700 million, and then they retracted that and said just under. So apparently they have accurate enough numbers about all of their users to
Yeah,
be able to say this.
650 million of those copies run in Nigeria.
Yeah, right. It does make me curious what they're basing the numbers on. Is this on Windows sales? Is it on like Microsoft accounts that have logged into a Windows 10 machine? Is it like PC sales? How is it close enough that they're able to say it's not quite 700 million yet? Are they tracking all of us? Like, what is this? Where did they get the number?
Well, they have where did they get the number? Well, have you ever installed Windows 10? The amount of telemetry inside of Windows 10 is
Yeah.
astronomical. So they not only know who's got it installed, but they know the color of the underwear that you're wearing or not.
Trick them. I don't wear any underwear. I'm sorry. Was that out loud on the podcast?
I'm the one that's been drinking. What the hell? So yeah, the telemetry on Windows 10 is pretty staggering, and for them to say that I mean, just under 700 million. I think the answer is we know exactly how many devices run Windows 10,
and they didn't want
down by like color of device,
and they didn't want to lie and say it was over 700 million.
Yeah, because we could check
somehow we would know.
Well, yeah. It's an impressive number, but I don't know that it's. I mean, this whole touting how many devices run your stuff is getting a little old.
Yeah, I mean, what other metric do they have though? You know, like what else are they gonna like? How else do they show that they've won?
I don't know. I mean, but like, so just because I'm bored, iOS touts 1 billion devices. Let's see. Linux doesn't have a number.
That's because it's probably in the billions.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's try Android. Android does not have 3Ds in it. Google says 1.4 billion. Google says there's 1.4 billion Android devices.
So Microsoft, while they say it's 700 million, are still lagging behind pretty much everyone that matters.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what you're saying? So that's cool. Much. This is a TechCrunch article, by the way. They do go on to say that back in 2015, Microsoft had claimed or had set a goal for 1 billion devices by 2018. Obviously, they didn't quite hit that.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. It quickly became clear that this was a bit too optimistic.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's an impressive number. I don't have nearly that many running my OS.
So I guess, yeah, that's the other thing to consider here. This isn't just Windows; it's Windows 10 specifically. So, like the number of Android devices, like if you were to pin that down to Android 8, it's probably a fraction of that billion.
Right,
a very small fraction. But if you were to compare it to all Windows devices ever anywhere that are still running, you're probably in the billions already.
So here's an interesting article that I just ran across trying to figure out how many devices run Windows in general.
Yeah.
According to this, and I'll put the link in the show notes. According to this link from The Verge, which is actually about Apple, they're saying, let's see, many estimates suggest there's more than 1 billion Windows-powered PCs in the world. This article is from April of 2017, and it says Microsoft officially claims there's 400 million active users of Windows 10. So if that's the case, a year ago, they're saying that it almost doubled in a year.
Well, the article that we linked in the show notes says
that last year was 500 million.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like these statistics are made up on the spot, like 97.3% of the rest of them.
Yeah, right.
All right. Look at that.
That's exactly a year ago that number stood at 500 million. Yeah, so I don't know.
Now we have
Don't
another
know.
thing in the show notes. Look at that.
Let's just make those show notes longer and longer and longer.
I
It's
did.
fun.
I did. I do.
Cool.
So,
you heard about this GDPR thing?
Yeah. So it's this. I mean, I've been hearing nothing but GDPR nonsense to the point where I'm getting all these emails about everybody that's now GDPR compliant and what that means to me since I'm in the US.
And who you
Nothing,
can pay
by the way,
to make you GDPR compliant. So, Bleeding Computer reports on a very interesting solution to the problem. And by problem, I mean that you are a company based in the US and you don't know or can't afford to become GDPR compliant. Simply block the EU. Great solution, isn't it?
problem solved.
Problem solved. So yeah, there's let's see, what was the name of the software? There is a piece of JavaScript, I think it is, a service called GDPR Shield. GDPR Shield. I just can't believe that this is a legitimate. There's a piece of JavaScript. Masters can embed block users from accessing something. The parent company will deal with GDPR compliance.
The fun part is blocking the users doesn't, at least my understanding is that it doesn't necessarily negate you from having GDPR responsibility.
Well, I mean, if you had no citizens of the EU in your system, no data on them, and you blocked them from accessing your system, then that should do it, right?
Maybe. Now, the other fun part is that GDPR, for all of the nonsense that people are jumping up and down about, and I'll caveat this with I haven't done much beyond reading a little bit about GDPR. It's not that incredibly onerous.
Well, it sounds like it has one hell of a fine attached to it.
It's got a huge fine attached to it if you get busted, but
24 million US dollars, or 4% of the company's annual worldwide revenue, or whichever's higher.
Yeah.
24 freaking million dollars?
Yeah.
That's enough to put a company out of business.
Well, it's intended to, like, so the objective of it is to ensure the privacy rights of the individual. Now, I don't agree with everything that they're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely understand, and I can almost back what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect people's rights, and that's awesome.
Right.
The problem is a small business, which I may or may not have a little bit of experience with, say, you know, a little web host that runs out of somebody's basement that barely makes a profit, that maybe has a customer that's based in the EU. Now, we don't, but if we did, I couldn't hire a compliance guy to come in and help me make sure I'm compliant. And if I don't, and I get caught, 24 million? It's like, oh, okay, sorry, I'll just turn off the servers now. Goodbye.
Wait.
You still there?
Oh, it's funny because I can see it sitting there, and
you got really, really choppy there. I don't know what you were trying to say.
I hate it when the internet stops working.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing to say at that point.
Yeah, it is, because you stop mid-sentence.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, PR. It's a thing.
Totally a thing.
Totally.
Hang on.
A thing. No, hold on. Can't say hold on.
I'm taking a note so I know where to edit this later, because one of us is really getting hammered with something. So I don't know how much of my statement you got about GDPR and small businesses.
Yes, you're right. 24 million will crush business. I get that.
Yeah.
Said, it not. It's I don't know. From what I've read and what I've seen about GDPR, the regulations are not like incredibly onerous. It's
Yeah.
basically like you have to protect the data, and if an EU citizen wants the data to disappear, you have to make it disappear. Now, the fun part about make it disappear is that actually conflicts with some US regulations. So if you happen to be in a regulated space like finance or something else that requires you to hold data for a period of time, if that EU citizen says make my data disappear, you're stuck between two legally binding contracts, if you will. So by US law, you have to keep the data in escrow for that 5-year or 7-year period. And by EU law or GDPR law, you have to make it disappear. And to my knowledge, that hasn't been answered yet. Not a lawyer. So go talk to a lawyer because you don't have enough lawyers in your life. And maybe they can give you an answer. But thus far, my understanding is it depends. Don't know what it depends on, but it depends.
About 3/4 of what you just said was so choppy that I didn't even hear it.
That's crazy talk.
Isn't it
That's
though?
it. Crazy talk.
Crazy talk. So anyway, I'll edit what I can out of that, guys. GDPR.
Yeah, I think the YouTube's got it. So as long as the YouTube's got it, it's good.
I don't know. Maybe.
I checked.
You checked?
I checked.
Cool. So you're saying it's at my end, and
I'm saying it's somebody's end. Anyway, moving on. Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster's totally going to take pictures of your face now.
In an endless race to collect everybody's face everywhere for everything. Today I was digging through some old pictures, and I found an old picture of an old friend's Jeep from like, I don't know, 2005 or something. And I happened to be friends with that person on Facebook. So I had shared the picture on Facebook and tagged them just so that they could, see the picture. And there was another person in the picture who's also a Jeep friend of mine, like not the guy I was trying to share with. And as I'm posting the picture, Facebook is like, oh yeah, you want to tag this other person who's in the picture? I'm like, holy really? It's getting that good that all I had to do was upload the picture and it automatically tagged the person. Pretty creepy stuff. I wonder if I uploaded a picture of you if Facebook would know who you are. It is cool, but it's creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Sure,
that'd be a cool.
Pictures of me out there.
That'd be a cool test. Will it tag your wife if I put a picture of your face up on Facebook? So anyway, Engadget is reporting Ticketmaster is contracting with, or they purchased a product called Blink, which is apparently facial recognition software. And the concept is that as you're walking into a venue for a show that you've bought a ticket for, it just recognizes you on the way in the door and lets you in. So like no more ticket, just sort of, hi, I'm so-and-so. Yep, that matches your face. Come on in. I think it's kind of cool.
It's interesting. I see a substantial number of people with iPhone 10s that do the Face ID thing, and some people that I thought were really security conscious who are just praising Face ID compared to like Touch ID.
Yeah.
So they seem to think that facial recognition is where it's at, which I find interesting because I'm not sure that I agree, but
yeah, I don't know that I would see why it would be any better or worse than Touch ID. Like,
I don't
sure,
know.
Touch ID is your fingerprint, right? So now your fingerprint is digitized and hashed, and Apple probably has a copy of it, or in my case, Google probably has a copy of it. Although
Right.
my fingerprint ID does not carry from phone to phone, so it could be that it's only local on my phone. I don't know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be local in the enclave on the phone itself.
Yeah, same deal with my voice imprint. When I key my phone with my voice, it doesn't seem to leave the phone because it doesn't carry. I have to retrain every phone I get, is what I'm getting at. Anyway,
That's annoying.
it is kind of annoying, but I can also see why they're doing it because there's so many people that be like, ah, Google knows my voice. Well, yeah, they probably do anyway. But
Well, yeah.
so anyway, my point is, I don't see why my voice imprint or my fingerprint or my face, whatever profile they build of the shape of your face would be any more or less private than any other. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like why would Face ID be a better boon for privacy than Touch ID?
Well, Face ID you can do with it's a camera that's above the door that blinks green every time somebody it recognizes comes in. Whereas Touch ID, people got to touch things, and that's gross.
Yeah, that's totally gross.
Yeah, I don't know where that guy's fingers were before, he touched that thing that I just had to touch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Ticketmaster hasn't used fingerprints to figure out who you are.
Well, so far.
So what happens if like I purchase a ticket for a show and then I can't make it and I give it to my cousin? Do I have to give them my face? Here, take this with you to the show.
Just cut your face off. There you go. You got to punch yourself in the face a little bit, change the bone structure.
Yeah, right. Right. Related but unrelated, blockchain.
Oh,
Everybody drink.
joy. Glug, glug, glug.
I'll drink my water.
I got an idea. Let's put it on the blockchain.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a couple college, I guess they're not students unless they're, I guess if they're graduate students. They're 25 and 24, which makes me think they're not students, but
I just want to announce that I have a wonderful idea and I'm going to put it on the blockchain. And in the show notes, you'll find my bank account number where you can just send me cash.
Oh, good. That's how that works, right? Blockchain,
yes.
Give me money. Here's
exactly.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so this is related to the previous one where these guys are supposed to be trying to prevent counterfeiting and resale profiteering, as they put it.
Yeah.
And it's basically we'll just put all of it on the blockchain, and then because it's on the blockchain, that'll prevent everything bad from happening because the blockchain only permits good things to happen.
Yeah.
It's part of the programming.
Blockchain couldn't allow bad.
Right. Yeah, it's part of the programming. So when you try to do something bad on the blockchain, an error pops up and says, that's bad, and we only allow good things.
You can't do bad things. It's just not cool. I don't believe that. Anyway, yeah, we talked about this a little bit before the show, so I don't want to rehash too much, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get the whole point across again because I already did once. But basically, I just don't fully get the problem they're trying to solve here. I get counterfeit tickets, but that seems solvable in other ways. In fact, I kind of thought it was solved. But I don't see ticket resale as an actual problem. Like, I see that as, I bought a ticket to a thing. I want to go see Adele. That's the example they gave in the article. But I purchased a ticket and now I can't make it to the show. So I'd like to give that ticket to a friend or sell it. Or heck, I bought tickets for a friend. Like, how do I give it to them
So
Does
I get,
blockchain allow like afford for that sort of thing, like exchange of
of
ownership?
course, it's good, so that would allow for that. That's
Oh,
allowed.
okay. Okay. Okay.
I don't. So the fraud piece I can see, sort of. So if the ticket is on the blockchain, in theory, and we're assuming a public blockchain, by the way, because if it's private, this all goes out the window. But assuming a public blockchain, if the ticket is on the blockchain and it's been verified, et cetera, and all the nonsense that goes along with putting something on the blockchain, then in theory, you can't put a fraudulent ticket forward. But I don't know. I don't see how this does anything at all for resale of tickets. I don't see how this prevents that at all, or scalping, or whatever other terminology you want to use. Like, just because it's on the blockchain, it just makes it legit. It doesn't mean that
Well,
it's.
does it make it more trackable? Like, can you track ownership? Can you track the ownership of a ticket from person to person?
Sure, but who cares?
Well, maybe that's what they're trying to get at. They're trying to verify the chain from the person holding the ticket or the person holding the digital ticket as they're trying to walk in the door back to maybe the agent that sold it.
Right. So remember back in the day when we all thought we could stop spammers by, doing something crazy like making, I don't know, SPF or DKIM or any of these other things, because we thought, hey, spammers could never create a DNS entry with a cryptographic hash that would like legitimize their domain.
Look, that totally worked. I don't get any spam anymore.
Exactly.
There's no spam anywhere.
So,
it's all just, oh, that's right. I just use Google. I just use Gmail and it filters everything.
There's no possible way for a scalper to legitimately sell that ticket and report a fake amount of money that they sold it for.
Right.
Like, this doesn't, I don't understand how this could prevent anything.
Because
it's possible I'm missing something, but just because you throw blockchain in there doesn't mean that this is not a thing anymore.
Blockchain. Well, I mean, I can't. They're talking about having received a pile of money to make this happen. So, to me, it doesn't sound like it's just we threw blockchain at the problem and done. There's more wrapped around this. Because I would think that anybody can spin up like their own chain and start tracking transactions, whether it's Bitcoins or not, right?
This is going to sound cynical. And
from you?
And
never. And there's not a cynical bone in your body, man.
I'm going to say it anyway because I am in the startup space. Putting the word blockchain in your elevator pitch with any interesting idea and people will throw money at you.
Cool. I'm going to pitch an idea for blockchain grilled cheese sandwiches.
I'm serious. It's stupid. Like, some of the blockchain stuff that I've seen come through on the startup end of things that they're throwing money at, it's like blockchain has nothing to do with that solution at all. Like, there is no actual use for that. And it's this feeding frenzy around blockchain.
Blockchain.
Look, blockchain is really good at, and to be clear, this has to be a diverse, public, verifiable chain where you have people who are not part of the company holding that blockchain and verifying it on a regular basis, right? So the moment the company owns the entire chain, the company can do whatever it wants and you can fake anything you want. It's not hard. The moment it's public, it's very hard to make a change to the blockchain without somebody noticing. So it's very good at verifying that something has happened, right? So you put something on the blockchain, it throws a bunch of crypto around it and says, I have signed this particular block of data that this thing has happened, and now it's immutable. That's what blockchain is good for. So saying that you've put blockchain behind it and suddenly scalpers can't charge more for it, there's no mechanism on the blockchain that prevents that.
Yeah, that's why I wonder if there's more to this than just we put tickets in blockchain. Like maybe they're just utilizing blockchain to do some other sort of verification or some other sort of locking or something. I don't know.
Utilizing blockchain to say that this ticket is real, assuming that the company that is selling the tickets is the only company that can sign those tickets with their key or whatever.
Yeah,
that I can believe.
Right.
No yawning. Yawning
Sorry.
is not allowed. Yawning is not part of the blockchain. It's not part of the blockchain.
Not allowed.
So,
Yawn is black is backed by blockchain.
Take my money. Take it all.
Awesome.
I want to see your yawn on the blockchain.
How much money are we talking about?
All of it. All the money in existence.
Oh, in that case, I could have bought some beer for tonight.
All right, so we've beaten blockchain to death. Let's turn to Google and beat that to death.
Yeah. So this is just a blog from Google, from Google's, blog. Wow, did you know that .google is a top-level domain? I didn't know that.
Of course it is. .ninja is a top-level domain too. So
when you're Google, you can have anything you want as a top-level domain. So yeah, from blog.google. Yeah, apparently the Google Assistant is being roped into like everything and anything everywhere. 5,000 devices, they said.
Of course.
Up from 15,000 or 1,500 that was just this January. Yeah, up from 1,500. It includes cameras, dishwashers, doorbells, dryers, lights, plugs, thermostats, security systems, switches, vacuums, washers, fans, locks, sensors, heaters, AC units, air purifiers, refrigerators, ovens. We can keep on going.
I would like to put my dishwasher on the blockchain.
The freaking vacuum.
That way,
Google Assistant.
Once the dishes are clean, it goes on the blockchain, and then they're always clean.
They're always clean. There you go. I cannot imagine a Google Assistant connected vacuum cleaner. Of all of the various devices in this list, the vacuum is the one I'm having the most trouble picturing in my head.
Roomba.
Okay. See, when I think vacuum, I picture like just an upright vacuum that you're vacuuming your floor with. Why in the heck would that need to be?
I swear I've seen a movie where the upright vacuum is running around cleaning the house.
Yeah, well, in the days before Roomba.
Yeah, well.
When people just thought, automating a thing makes it look just like the old thing, except now it's automatic, right?
Well, yeah. I'm sure there's a book on that.
There was a time for that. So yeah, basically this article is just about how Google is integrating the Google Assistant with so many things, and I think it's interesting. I also think that it's kind of scary because the Google Assistant means voice recognition. Voice recognition means your devices are listening to you. Right.
So now step one is unbox your Skynet device.
Yeah. In some of these examples, they're talking about things like Chromecast, which are not directly listening. They're just linked to a device that's listening. So like with a Chromecast, you could link it to, it's on your Wi-Fi. So devices you can talk to, like a Google Home device or your phone that has the Google Assistant on it, can then cast things to your Chromecast. So it's not like your TV is listening to you. It's more like your TV is a target for Chromecast or for Cast, which is slightly different. And I guess that still counts as being compatible with Google Assistant, right?
These assistants are getting smarter and able to do all sorts of things. There was an article from last year, which I'll put in the show notes because they're not long enough yet. And it was an Alexa thing that they did where the guy, it was it's called Alexa Red Alert Shield Up. And it basically makes his lights turn red and makes all sorts of alarms and everything, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But he used he did it with Alexa, he did it with a Google Home.
You've seen Ed Scotus's office, right?
Ed is mostly insane.
Yes.
And I'm very jealous of his office. But yes, he has automated all the things, including his little doggy.
Yep. So anyway, was there some point before I interrupted you about Ed Scotus?
No, it's
Alexa and Google Home.
People are getting crazy with these and starting to create all sorts of interesting integrations. There was an article I read a while ago about Zuckerberg, who's doing this too. And he had to actually, he made a comment that he had to kind of come to an agreement with his wife because he was trying to automate things in the house and creating all this craziness. And he's only allowed to do it at certain times or for certain things because sometimes the house would go crazy.
Sometimes.
Which she found a little upsetting.
Yeah. Well, when I first got my Google Home device, I started tinkering around with some of the things that it could do. And one of the things is I can tie it to IFTTT. So I don't know if you've used that, but it's like an automation.
If this, then that.
If this, then that. So I can actually use voice commands to the Google Home or to my Google Assistant that'll trigger IFTTT rules, which is almost limitless.
Yeah.
Like I can do so many things with IFTTT on top of all the stuff that it already does. So
if there's an API for it, you can automate it. And in a lot of cases, even if there isn't an API for it, you can fake it. So you've done enough screen scrape coding that I'm sure you know how to, you could easily trigger if this then that to call a script that screen scrapes something that triggers something else that, and you're off to the races.
So one of the examples that I use in this blog is the TV remote, right? They use the example like you walk into your living room and you want to watch TV and you can't find the remote and you utter to yourself, why is this still a problem? And it brings up an interesting point. TV remotes have been around since what, the 70s?
At least.
I would think late 60s at the earliest. I'm thinking 70s though. I don't know when the TV remote was invented, or at least that it became the usual, the norm within your household.
The first remote intended to control a television was developed by Zenith Radio Corporation in 1950.
Yeah, but when did they become common use? Like, when were they in every home?
The remote, called Lazy Bones, was connected to the television by a wire. A wireless remote control, the Flashmatic, was developed in 1955.
Flashmatic. I gotta love how they named products in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, we need that to come back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Product names these days are just boring. All you do is take the vowels out.
Take out the vowels, make it all lowercase,
and throw matic at the end.
No one in their freaking right mind can pronounce it. There's your product name, and then pronounce it completely different than it's spelled.
Yeah. What? I don't understand.
Now we're starting to sound like old men. Get off my lawn!
Back in my day, we used to route IPs by the block.
We used to route IPs by hand. There was somebody with a switch with the cables like the old phone switches.
Static routing.
By hand.
We use ATM switches and IISP.
Yeah. So anyway, the point I was trying to make was simply that the TV remote, I think, is ready to die, and we could move on to something better. If that better is voice commands or not, I don't know, but could be. It's certainly, whether you're on Apple or Android, you've got a voice assistant, and if there's a common API for those things, or even if there's not, if there's just interfaces with those things to your devices, then this could be a good thing.
I'm thinking it's time for the HAL 9000 virus.
Mm.
Sorry, I can't do that, Dave.
I don't have any pod bays to get locked out of, though. and closing my garage door on me really doesn't have the same effect.
You know, hey,
I can still breathe outside of my garage.
Alexa, turn on ESPN. Sorry, I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah,
no!
Right. Okay, moving along.
Alrighty, opting out is the new opting in.
Yeah, this is more of like an editorial thing, like an opinion piece almost, I would say. It's kind of interesting though, and it's from 538.
538, the infamous 538.
What's 538?
538 is the company that, oh, the hell, I forget the guy's name. But he basically predicted every single state a couple of years ago for the presidential election. That's sort of what drove them to the top of the lists of everybody who wanted to talk to them. And then,
which explains why in the column on the side they have Trump approval ratings. Like that's somehow related to this article.
Well, they're basically an analytics company, so
because politics.
They analyze the shit out of everything and then give you the sort of the output of that. So they were really great until 2016, and then of course they were failed like everybody else did. And that's all we're going to say about that. Moving on.
Okay. All right. So this article basically it gives some examples surrounding the Golden State Killer and another case which was solved based on DNA. And well, I don't know. You apparently read the article better than I did, because I was completely off track when you and I were talking about it before the show. Do you want to try to clarify this?
Sure. So the Golden State Killer was just caught recently.
Yes.
And what they're doing in this article is they're trying to sort of equate that poorly with what happened to. So the idea is that the Golden State Killer last killed somebody in 1986. The same year, 1986, is when DNA profiling was first used in a criminal investigation. Okay. That particular case, they found the killer because he refused to give up his DNA, not because they matched it.
Right.
And what they're saying in this case is that the Golden State Killer was caught not because he refused to give up his DNA, but because everybody else had already given up their DNA, and they found him through a familial match. So basically somebody in his family somewhere had given DNA, and it was close enough that they matched it.
They were able to then trace the family to someone who had not, perhaps.
So they just traced they just traced the family line through to find out who it was.
To find someone who was probably the right age and the right whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So the I don't know what you want to call it. I guess the comparison here is that just because you didn't give any of that data, you didn't opt in for that data, you can still be found out.
Yeah.
But that's almost well known these days. It's not really a surprise.
The gist of the story is basically that if everybody around you is giving up their data, and some of that data is somehow related to you, you've given up your data even though you didn't give it up.
Right. For instance, I'm not on Facebook. The running theory, based on the fact that I do actually get a lot of Facebook ads, is that Facebook has a shadow profile of me. That is fairly accurate. I didn't opt in for Facebook.
Yeah.
So what they've done, and this is it sounds creepy and it sounds crazy, but it's actually not hard. They have, through all the different feeds that they have on the internet. So when I go to a page, chances are it's got a Facebook link on it, and they can tell by my browsing habits and all the links that I've hit, they can build a picture of what I look like. Now, other people in my house have Facebook profiles, but when they browse, they're logged into Facebook. Facebook already knows who they are because they've been logged in with that browser. So they can exclude those from my profile. So they've probably got a pretty good profile on who I am. And it's not just Facebook. Other people do this stuff too. There's a lot of advertising agencies that do this already. So the act of opting out has already opted me in. Now, if everybody in my house was opted out, it makes it a little bit harder. But I think they can still identify individual people based on browsing habits, time of day, type of material. Like there's a lot of different things, and it won't be quite as accurate depending on the randomness in the house, but you can still build a pretty good profile. That's sort of what this article is kind of saying. Like, it doesn't matter whether you opt out or in, they're going to be able to get the data off of you anyway. Did that make sense at all?
Totally makes sense. I mean, it's really the same thing I was trying to say. You just worded it much better.
Oh,
it must be the beer.
It's got to be the alcohol.
Yeah, gotta be.
Been having all sorts of epiphanies tonight. It's great.
Yeah, epiphanies.
An epiphanation.
Okay, one last thing. Twitter. Did you hear about the Twitter password thing?
Yes, I am loving the Twitter password thing.
You're loving the Twitter password thing. So
I am.
I'm this past weekend, as many of our listeners who've listened for more than, since last summer will know, I volunteer at the Jeep Jamboree twice a year. And I did that this past weekend. And so one of the things that they do for us is they give us free meals. So on the night that we started, which was Thursday night of last week, I'm sitting at the guide to dinner. This is like a specific, like just for guides and staff. And it's like a thank you, for us being there and helping and whatever. And I overhear another guide who's like not in IT, not anything. He just happens to be a Twitter user saying, "Oh, did you hear? All the Twitter users have to change their passwords." And I felt for a moment like I was sitting in a room full of IT people because technology discussions have come up around the table. Anyway, I did some quick looking on it right then just to see what it was all about. And then, of course, the internet exploded, right?
So I love this story. And I love this story because in actuality, I would argue that not a single Twitter user has to change their password. And I would further argue that this gives an interesting glimpse inside of normal companies, because to explain to those people that don't know, basically what happened is some log somewhere inside of Twitter. Doesn't matter where it is, just there is a log.
Yeah.
And passwords for users ended up in that log in I believe in clear text, correct?
Yeah, that's the article I read.
So a clear text version of your password ended up in the log. Now, yep. I'm a programmer, I'm an engineer, I'm a sysadmin, I'm a network engineer. Like, I've done all of these things. I know exactly how this happens.
Oh, yeah.
This is called, I created a debug statement.
Yep.
And forgot to turn it off.
Yep.
And now passwords are in the logs.
Yeah.
And this happens everywhere. Don't let anybody tell you that this is a huge, like, oh my God moment.
No.
This happens at every company. And the answer, the whole bit here is, yes, your password showed up in a log inside the company. Now, at its face, that's a bad thing, right? So that shouldn't happen. And I agree, it shouldn't happen. Twitter, being a more mature company, should have had somebody who's looking at the log saying, "Oh, that shouldn't be happening. Let's turn that off." And then only a couple people get exposed. But for whatever reason, this appears to have happened for longer than that, which tells me that log probably isn't monitored and probably doesn't serve a very large amount of use.
I wonder if this is a case where if you haven't changed your password in a very long time, you're actually more secure than people that have.
That's possible. It doesn't matter. It's internal. So in order for this, so there's a couple different ways that this can be exploited. One is somebody internally looks at your password and says, I know Nate's password is Iron Sysadmin Rocks. I've got his password now. Oh, did I say that out loud on the live? Sorry about that. Can you mute that later?
I'll just edit that back out. Yeah.
All right, cool. So you'd have to have a bad actor inside of Twitter, and that can happen. We've seen them in Twitter. We've seen them in Facebook most recently with the security engineer who was fired because he was stalking female Facebook users by just going through their stuff. Not creepy at all.
Really
Google has had
stalking?
this in the past.
It's creepy. I stalking.
It was apparently it was stalking because he was actually messaging her and all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Google has had this in the past where they fired one or more Google engineers for trolling through people's Gmail accounts. Every company has bad actors in it.
Well, how else are they supposed to so accurately filter the spam?
I didn't think of that. So somebody internally to Twitter would have to use the password. Now, you should have two-factor on. They didn't say whether the two-factor tokens were exposed or not, but chances are they weren't. So you should still be okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing we don't know is if those logs ever left Twitter or not, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Right. So
right.
It
so
could be
that's the other half of it.
Like those logs could be shuffled off to, some log analytics company or something. And maybe now they have all the passwords.
Right. So if those logs are outside of Twitter,
maybe they're stored on an S3 bucket that everyone has access to.
Right. Whoever has access to those logs could potentially have access to those passwords.
Right.
So the question arises, should you change your password? And it's, well, how do you feel about it? How important is your Twitter account? Do you think somebody's targeting you?
Or better yet, have you used that password anywhere else?
Now, given the number of celebrities and super important people that listen to this podcast, I'd say change your password immediately. But if this was an average podcast where nobody of real importance listens to this, I would say you're probably not at risk. It's not a big deal. So, go change your password.
Yeah, absolutely. All you celebrity folks listening to Iron Sysadmin.
The bit that I really love about this is Twitter. This was not an exposure outside of Twitter. Right. According to what they've reported thus far.
Yeah.
Twitter really has no obligation to report this. And they did anyway, because this is a good netizen thing to do. And I think this is a really positive thing for a company to do, and reveals that this sort of shit happens in a company.
I love the way they responded. They were very open about the whole thing. I mean, it seems like very shortly after they found out, they started notifying users, not just via a blog tucked away on their webpage, not just via a tweet. I opened up my Twitter app and a pop-up came up that said, hey, this thing happened. You should probably change your password. If you use this password anywhere else, you should change that. You should change it there too.
I was a little concerned about my privacy, that Twitter knew that my password was exposed. So, I've sent them a complaint.
Right.
But yes, I think they've handled it outrageously well. And for all the people that have been like bashing against them and how could this possibly happen? Like,
it happens.
Congrats, you've never made a mistake. You must be the best of us.
Yeah, I mean, debugging, like some systems have to handle passwords, period. And sometimes in debugging, as in code that should never see the light of day, you have to enable some sort of high level of debugging, which may be able to collect those passwords. Should that have been a thing that got accidentally put into production? No, obviously not. Can protections be put in place that it could never happen again? That might be tough. Outside of AI that's parsing your code, right?
Well, that's assuming the AI is trained to look for that sort of thing.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's no, it shouldn't happen, but it does all the time in a lot of companies. And most companies will go, oops, and fix the problem and move on and don't tell anybody. Twitter really showed some maturity by saying, hey, we screwed up and here's what we did and here's how we're fixing it. We don't think that you're at risk, but we want you to know in case you want to change your password.
So in the YouTube live chat, Digital FX has a perfect solution. He says we need to get away from passwords, maybe some kind of blockchain.
If we put our passwords on blockchain, then that secures all of it. We'll just use the hash of the blockchain. That's brilliant.
Throw money at him too.
Yes.
All the money.
Where do I send the cash? Yeah, I think they, for all the slack that they've gotten, I think they've done pretty well. I saw a pretty Dan Kaminsky, you're familiar with Kaminsky, right?
Yeah.
So he had posted on Twitter something along the lines of like, good job, Twitter. I applaud you for this. And somebody started arguing with him and telling him he didn't know what he was talking about. And Dan's response was like, I know a little bit about security. I might have an idea what's going on here, which I thought was really so like a lot of the big guys have come out and said like, hey, like it's okay. Mistakes get made. And if you own up to them, like it's cool.
Absolutely.
And in the grand scheme of things, this was a tiny little mistake. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like, to their knowledge, this wasn't breached.
Right.
This hasn't left Twitter. They're just erring on the side of caution, saying, hey, if this log fell into anyone's hands outside of Twitter, they have your password now.
Right.
So.
Right. And I think, so quoted in here in this article is Dave Kennedy, who said, it's a bad thing and Twitter should be held to the fire for it, but they're taking the right steps. And I agree. Like, you know what? Like, use it as a teaching moment. Like, you shouldn't do this, but you did a good job. Keep it up.
Yeah.
So I have seen some, and I haven't looked at all of the stuff that their CTO. I'm not even going to try his name, but there's some commentary that the CTO is a little not so friendly when delivering the news, and maybe a little egotistical about it. But I think that it depends on who's reading it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with that sort of. It depends on how it's received, not necessarily on how it was delivered. So I didn't see it, so I mean, if he called all the Twitter customers, crybabies or something, that might be a problem. But
nah, doesn't appear so.
Yeah.
So, and I think with that, we've run out of things.
We've run out of news
in the show notes. That's weird.
The show notes are pretty long.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can do that transition stuff and then talk about announcements and then chat and then not have a main topic.
I don't know if we need a transition.
No? Okay.
Hey, did you hear DerbyCon tickets went on sale?
Yeah.
Oh, you missed it. Never mind.
Yeah, they sold out in 13 seconds. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, 13 seconds. Powered by Eventbrite this time, and they went on sale actually at the time they were advertised. So, props to
right, Dave.
DerbyCon for getting it right this time.
Yeah, for those of you that weren't involved. Last year sold out in like 30 seconds or like a minute, some insanely small number.
10 minutes
And
before they were advertised. Or 5 minutes before they were advertised.
Yeah, and it sold out before they went on sale, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of a problem. So yeah, I lucked out and last year got a ticket because of my work on the Derby project. So I got my ticket the day before they went on sale, which is pretty cool. Did you manage to get a ticket or did you miss out?
It's up in the air. So I should have a ticket because I'm on staff. If I'm on staff this year, I haven't seen anything in email yet, which I'm a little concerned about. So worst case, I will be begging for a ticket later. Best case, I already have one.
Yeah. Well, we may be able to help you out there. I don't know. We'll chat a little bit off the air.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know for certain. There's a similar dependency, but I may have an extra ticket, and I don't know if I can use it for you or not. But we'll see.
Well, one way or another, I'm going to Derby because I have not missed one yet, and I'm going again. So
you can always just show up and beg someone to allow you to volunteer.
I don't know if that would work.
That's kind of what you did. It's kind of what you did last year, isn't it?
No,
except you
no.
had a ticket.
No, I had a ticket and I was asked to volunteer. So which is why that's how I ended up on staff. But
right,
we'll see what happens.
So anyway, I don't know that we have any other real announcements, huh?
No, let's see. DEF CON 610 was last week.
Yeah, did you make it? I didn't make it.
No, I couldn't. I was not in the last week.
Were you like flying to Abu Dhabi or something?
I don't know. I think I was not in the state for some reason.
You jet setter.
Yes, I was not in the state. That's why. And then
that's a good reason to miss it, I suppose.
Yep. And then what else is going on? B-Sides Delaware is sometime in the end of the year. Well, as soon as I have dates, we'll announce it.
Yeah, I don't know that we have to worry about announcing B-Sides Delaware just yet.
As soon as we can announce it, we will. Come on now.
It's like 8 months away, isn't it? 7 months away?
Like that.
Yeah.
It just goes.
Oh, yeah, it'll come quick. Which means we need to get working on the Hack Your Derby and Hack My Derby projects, respectively.
Yes. So if you have ideas on how Hack Your Derby and Hack My Derby can go better this year, please write in.
Yeah. So Hack Your Derby is probably going to continue in a very similar fashion to the way it has. We want to try to preserve that as much as we can. We're just new stewards of the same contest. However, Hack My Derby, I'm really thinking it gets rolled into Hack Your Derby. I just got to figure out how that works. So, yeah. And then I got to get all that done before September. Or I guess October, actually. Beginning of October, right? October, first weekend in October, isn't it? This year?
Yeah, so it's like the first weekend. Dates are hard. I can't remember days.
Same for me, dude.
Well, look.
7th?
Look.
Wait.
Who Jones?
Who's that?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody. A day late and $1 short is Dustin.
Better late than never, right?
Yeah, except that we're pretty much done.
I know. Long day.
So, Dustin, you have any announcements?
Yeah. Let's see. What are we at now? My wife is going to be 34 weeks pregnant tomorrow. So,
man, getting close. Getting close.
Yeah.
Soon we're going to lose Dustin to the baby fog.
Have you started practicing staying awake for 36 to 48 hours straight yet?
Not quite, but I haven't really had like the 8-hour sleep anymore. That's already gone because Mari doesn't sleep. Oh, I said my wife's name. My wife's name is Mari. Mari doesn't sleep well. So then I don't sleep well, and then if I don't sleep well, then Mari doesn't sleep well. It's a vicious cycle, but it's okay. She's growing a baby. I'm just I have even after
Just
the
along
baby
for the
birth,
ride.
I have useless nipples. So my nipples have no purpose.
Welcome to Iron Sysadmin parenting class, folks. Dustin has
somebody
nipples.
whipped. All right, so that's Iron Sysadmin 30 something or other.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks for joining in the last 5 minutes of the show, Dustin.
Hey,
You add a certain element of well, I don't know what to call that.
okay, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go into the show
Alrighty.
notes, by the way. Dustin has nipples.
Dustin, oh wow, I can add that right now. I have the power. Let's see.
Yeah.
Dustin. Oh, that's the wrong place to add it. No, I want to put it. God damn.
Damn, I'm not witnessing this collaborative document going on. Yes, people, we use technology, collaborative editing, and it's very destructive.
Indeed.
Oh, I've drank too much tonight.
You know, nobody has put any emojis in it. I bet there's not a single emoji.
Not yet. Don't drink in Google Doc. So
I'm gonna do that.
if you guys want to interact with the show while it's happening, like Digital FX did tonight and even got mentioned on the show, please go subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that little bell so you know when we're recording. We try to tweet and we try to announce things in Slack and whatever, but we can never really hit a good schedule. Maybe someday when we hit the big time, we will.
Yeah,
that's never going to happen.
We're pretty good at least hitting the day that we're supposed to record.
We generally get the day right. Yes, we get the day.
We record sometime between 12 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. on the day of recordring.
On every other Monday, correct.
Are we including
now you got me. Time zone.
All right, here's fired. The real test. Who's the real test? Hey, I know. I already came late. I know. I'm well past that point. I've been terminated since the beginning of the show. I have to ask you this. Let's see which one of you can answer this without looking it up. What time is it in UTC?
Right now?
What time is it in UTC? Yes. Right now, it's like
2 a.m. No, almost 3 a.m.
Yeah,
UTC.
It's 2:50 something UTC because it's currently what 11 or 10:50 here.
Something is close.
We're GMT -4.
Very good. Now let me ask you this: what's the Unix epoch time? Come on.
Wow, I thought I'd been drinking.
I haven't. This is
the part where Nate presses the button to play the music.
Yeah. So, folks, I think it's a show for tonight. Remember, if you'd like to help the show out, you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/IronSysAdmin. Maybe we can buy Dustin some better beer.
Hey, there you go. I've got lots of beer. By the way, speaking of beer, Zima has been released again. Not that I'm a fan of Zima.
Right. You can also interact with us on our Slack workspace. I'm gonna have to mute Dustin soon. Hey, look, he's muted. Awesome. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Wow, that was fun.
And today, kids, we learned that Dustin has nipples.
Useless ones.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you, Digital FX, for hanging out and putting up with all. What the heck was that? Who has a bird?
I do, apparently.
The hell is that?
Oh God!
I found it on my desk.
All right. Good night, YouTube. We're gonna stop the broadcast before Dustin embarrasses himself. Thanks for watching.